Hey guys, I'm Jason Brubaker. Got my buddy here.
Hello. Hey, my name is Ahmed Aldoori. I'm also a YouTuber like Jason.
Yeah, we
But you do
both do
comics.
YouTubes. He does it better than I do.
Nah.
And so we had a conversation. What was it? A couple of years ago now. Was it?
Yeah.
And we kind of just talked about where we were both at. I know you were starting your Patreon, or not starting. You relaunched it at that time.
Right.
I had started working on Cithra for Webtoons, and we were kind of just getting to know each other. And I'm a big admirer of your artwork and your art style and your art ethic.
Likewise.
Thank you. So yeah, I figured it'd be fun to have another conversation and just see where you're at and what new things have happened. I know a lot of things have changed for me.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out again. I mean, it'd be cool to kind of compare and contrast how things were, what was it, like a little over a year ago, right?
Was it?
Yeah. Because back then I was still living in LA, and I had just relaunched the Patreon. Okay, yeah. So I mean, things are definitely different for me as well. A lot has happened.
Yeah. So I know you were like launched the Patreon and you wanted to do some world traveling, right?
Yes.
So how did that go, and what have you been doing since then?
Oh my God, I've grown so much. But like, yeah, I decided to just get rid of everything in LA because, I was teaching there for a bit at Brainstorm and Art Center and some remote stuff here and there, a little bit of freelance. But I figured having launched Patreon through YouTube and Instagram and stuff and Discord, I was financially stable enough to work from anywhere. So I decided to just leave, and I drove across the States for a couple months, and it was about 2 months. Yeah. So I went across, went through Arizona, then up to Utah for a bit. I didn't go to Idaho. Otherwise, that's where you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have let you know. But then Colorado, then down to New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana,
Wow.
Florida, then up to Georgia. It was really something, man.
Did you know people all those places and visit people?
Not all, but I did do meetups at most of the places I went to, and I got to meet a bunch of cool people. Sometimes it was 3 people, sometimes it was 12, sometimes it was 20. And then I stationed a little bit in Ohio, which is where my family is, and did some work there, just doing Patreon stuff because I was taking a break, obviously, while traveling. So I did a bit of work that way to save up a little bit. And then I went to Asia. Right when I got to Ohio, I got an email that pulled me right back to LA. So I had to fly back out. And there was this little competition thing that they wanted me to partake in. And it was called a Limits Digital Art Battle. Pretty much it's like an Iron Chef battle, right? It's 20 minutes, 2 people go head to head, and they get a randomized theme, and you have to paint something in 20 minutes. And so there's judges as an audience, and I qualified in LA to be flown out to Japan to compete at the grand finale. And so I thought it was a cool opportunity. So I, did that, and I went to Japan, and it was my second time in Japan, having been there like 4 years prior. And I got to meet a bunch of cool people, a lot of Japanese artists, and I didn't know any Japanese, so it was kind of hard, but it was really fun. And I competed against them, and they're like really, really cool, talented people. But I ended up kind of winning the grand championship, and so it kind of like started this relationship with the company, because I went back to the States and flew out again for some promotional battles at the sort of Comic Cons out there, Summer Sonic and things like that. And so I went to Japan in the last year 6 times. So kind of going back and forth. But one time I was there just not for like promotion or anything, but just to, chill. And so I ended up going to Thailand and Singapore, and each place just has its own flavor. And like throughout the whole trip, I'm writing and journaling and trying to understand myself and addressing my insecurities, my fears, things I want to work on, and what are my life goals, things like that. So that was really good. A lot of growth. And then I guess the last time I went, I was just showing my sister around. So, but now I'm back here, stationed in Ohio. I got my own little like studio place right now. Kind of just set things up, and yeah, now I'm working on my own stuff. Hopefully an art book very soon. So that'll be really, really cool. That's
cool. So you're just doing your own stuff, patrons paying the bills, your and your own projects and YouTube and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say YouTube because I make a video once every few months or something. But I actually just uploaded a video today. But what's been really fun, and I know you've done this similarly. I've been doing these challenges, and so at first I did a 500 hands challenge, and that was really cool. I hated it because, like, God, it was an arbitrary number, and like I had to do it because I set the challenge, and people were like, "Well, are you gonna do it?" I was like, okay, yeah. So that was a good learning experience, and I'm pretty confident with hands. And so the last challenge we just did after was the heads challenge, so 100 heads, and that's still going. Like I finished it, but like I still get tagged, and people are doing the challenge. Basically, I picked with the help of my friend Danny 100 heads, and I saved it on a Pinterest board, and I said, all right, here's a challenge. You have 10 days, draw all of them. So people are. It brings the community together. It's exciting to see all the work, and people get exposed to each other. So that's really cool. And I have like a bunch of challenges lined up. Like I have like a poses challenge. I have a girls and guns challenge. Hell yeah. 100 chickens challenge. Chickens look so cool. My friends were making fun of me about it, and not my friends, my enemies. They're like chickens? Are you serious? No, I just want to draw anime. Like no. And so yeah, it's really fun. It gets people going because you have the iterative drawing concept. I know it's not the same, but the idea is the mileage will result in some kind of learning of something.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Yeah, it's the cognitive drawing. I think iterative is
cognitive. That's what it was. Yeah.
One of your other friends that does it.
Psycho,
has a video. Yeah, exactly. I think he goes him.
Yeah.
Because when I was looking online to see if anyone else, did the same thing, I found that video.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the same thing, like repetition and just, reference to memory, and then all that line work really goes a long way.
So what's new with you since we last talked? I guess that's quite a recap that I just laid
out. That's great. Let's see, I finished Cithra, so I was working on that when I was talking with you. Yeah. So 6 books, big graphic novel books, and I don't have them all printed. The last 2 are still going to be printed, hopefully soon. And I've since then I did a little teaching through CGMA. I tried to finish cognitive drawing, the book, but I didn't quite get it done. I have it still as beta, but hopefully I can get it done this year and actually have a physical book because it's actually being used in home schools, and a local school here is using it as a curriculum. And so it's really proven itself to be a good tool that people are really enjoying. So I just need to get it done, And then I recently, just this year, got a job doing a 6-issue comic. So I'm writing it, drawing it, and coloring it, and just turned in the script.
Or
a little bit,
yeah.
It's. I don't think they want me to talk too much, but I mean, it's a as far as the story goes, but it's a project that a kind of a startup publisher got the rights to, and the guy whose concept it is this guy named Rick Reckadal. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He was kind of the head of global like franchise development at DreamWorks for like 20 years or something ridiculous. And so he had his hands in all the projects, and now he kind of just teaches story classes and stuff like that. So it's been really kind of surreal to work with someone like that closely and be writing their script.
Oh, that's
and it's been a real encouraging because I've been writing this thing and like saying, I don't think we should do this. I think we should do this. And he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And I'm like, well, this guy has been like in all the biggest story meetings, and he's saying good idea. So and he's just letting me run with it, and so far it hasn't been really much, like hardly any revisions. I have the first 3 issues written now, and they just got approved, so I'm gonna start on the last 3 now, and then hopefully in February I'll be able to start thumbnailing and drawing it.
That's so cool. And I got a couple questions, because comics are so cool. Now you have a lot of videos on your channel about, starting out in comics, panels and storytelling, what you really need to do, how to handle with your kind of self-doubt if you're trying to just get started, things like that. Yeah. And I do get a lot of questions, and I have some really close friends who are into comics and starting out. Do you have any, off the top of your head, any answers to some, or like what would be your kind of response to somebody who's just getting into it, or trying to learn art with comics in mind as their intention, in terms of storytelling, art skills? Like, how much skills do you really need to tell a story? Is there a minimum, or do you have to be good enough, etc.? So any thoughts on that would be great for me too.
Comics is interesting because it's really a really diverse skill set, especially if you're writing it too, and coloring it, because you're doing composition, you're doing layout, and then you're doing composition and layout between panels as well. So it's not only just the layout of one panel, but it's how that a panel leads into the next panel and leads your eye around the page. So I really think the reason I was able to do anything was just imitation. Like I tell people a lot, like find your favorite artists, like your 5 favorite artists, and just copy all the stuff that you love about them. And through that, your style will start emerging and developing. And that's kind of how I learned how to draw everything. And that's kind of what the cognitive drawing approach is too. It's like use this with your favorite artists, and just ingrain little bits and pieces into your subconscious, basically.
Sure.
And then the thing for me, it's like I would just imitate all the 90s artists, because that's when I grew up loving comics. And so I'd try to copy Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and Eric Larson and Sam Keith. And just I probably had like 400 or 500 pages of comics that I had drawn. And some were really, really detailed before I ever got hired, like submissions and personal comics and all kinds of stuff. And I've been kind of going through them on my YouTube channel, kind of breaking out all the old submissions and filming them, because it's kind of eye-opening to me how many I did now that I look back, before I ever got hired. So to me, I think it's just experiment, imitate what you love, because only through imitating what you love will you actually put in the time to actually get that skill. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense, yeah.
Because a lot of us, I think, a lot of people are like, what do I need to do? And then they try to force themselves to do this thing that they don't really care about. And it's like, you're never going to put in the mileage if you don't care about it, and if you're not passionately in love with it,
Especially if there's an assumption that they're supposed to do this one thing, and it's like blasé.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for instance, when I was doing storyboards, okay, and that's another example of like just like fast tracking the learning process. Was the storyboard environment is just like crank out a bunch of boards based on the script today, and it's like, okay, here we go, 50 frames later, is this good? And they're like, thanks. and you're working with multiple directors, so you're seeing all the different ways to approach it, and then you start realizing there's no real one way to approach it. Everyone has a different technique and style and way to tell a story. So what do I want to pull from each one of these directors? But it's just the sheer amount of work. If you can throw yourself into a situation just like you did with the hands and the faces, it's going to force you to improve and see things differently. Mileage, it's so big.
Yeah, I know people a lot by just saying, like, look, it's just mileage,
Yeah.
That's awesome. Any cool comics you're reading right now?
Let's see. I was gonna, I've been reading books actually. I just got this book called what is it? The One Thing.
Oh, it's a good book.
I've never heard of it before, but I guess I don't even know the author.
Yeah.
Someone recommended it and I bought it and I'm like, this is an interesting book. I was kind of like, I don't know if that makes sense, but every chapter I've been reading, I'm like, yeah, the argument is pretty strong, Yep. So, and I just finished the War of Art, which I like it. I had more, I have more pushback on that one though. There's some good concepts in it, but there's a lot that I think is just a really nice opinion.
The whole showing up to work against your resistance kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't really dug into any comics. And it's weird, I haven't really read comics a lot since probably the 90s,
Okay.
like I'll have moments where I get a comic and it's usually because I want to consume the art. But a lot of storytelling in comics doesn't like fascinate me very much. And so so I don't seek it out, I guess, very much either. I did read A Wrinkle in Time, the graphic novel version of that, and I really enjoyed it. And that was kind of some research. But
so what'd you think of Spider-Verse?
I really liked it. Yeah, I was
me too.
I was surprised. Yeah. I'm so hesitant to go to animated movies after working at DreamWorks and all that stuff for years. I'm so critical of it, but Spider-Verse was really good. They just did a lot of experimental things that I enjoyed, and I was pleasantly surprised. They took a lot of risks, and I really liked it.
It was like they put a bunch of artists in a room and they said, "All right, have fun," and they did. Yeah, it's really cool. I tried. Because I really liked all the characters in it. I tried reading like some of the Spider-Gwen comics and stuff. I'm just like, this is really bad. Like, just who greenlit this? These anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, it's true though, and I think that's kind of how I feel about comics. And that's why I'm so confident. Like I can do this is because I read comics and I go, this is awful.
Yeah.
And so if they can do it, then I know I can at least try. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, movies, sometimes they're just picked over with a fine tooth comb. And even that, it turns out bad, It
was good to see what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to see it with my buddy Kyle, who's really into comics, and he's learning to draw as well, and trying to get into comics as well. So anyway, cool. So what else is on your mind?
Oh, I don't know. I'm curious. I've always wanted to travel as an artist. So to me, that's like what you described is part of the reason I wanted to talk to you. Is just to just. I dream about like going to renting a house in another country and staying there for a month, and then going to another country and renting a house.
Highly recommend it, yeah. Well, I mean, it's the best thing for, at least I think, for introspection for me, because like when I'm in a familiar environment around people who I know, whose language I understand, it's kind of like, too close to home, literally. But being in a place where you're not from there, you look different from everyone else, and they're speaking a language that's completely different. You're trying different foods and seeing how people are in different countries. I don't know. It's like it puts you in a sort of not really defensive mode, but sort of hyper aware. Your senses are heightened because this is a new territory. Your mind is trying to map out what is going on and how do you survive? Where do you get the food? How do you wash your clothes? Where's the laundry? What kind of coins do you use? And so for me, it was like, it's kind of like being jolted awake every day. And then you're like, okay, what's happening today? And then I go to a cafe or something and I'm sketching, and then, but I have this kind of insecurity about something, or like something about art that I'm struggling with, or with people, and so I'll write about that. And just being far away from home in a different realm was kind of nice. But I think it's a skill that I learned from that is I could now do that here at home.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you can like go out to a place and look at it with the same eyes.
Something like, yeah.
Something like that.
But no, I think because my favorite place of traveling for like introspection would probably be Chiang Mai, which is in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the northern area where the mountains are. It's gorgeous. And the thing about Thailand is it's super, super cheap. Like the dollar goes a long way. You could get like a full dinner with like just under $1,
oh, wow.
At some places. But hotels were like $18 a day, something like that for a nice hotel. Everything's really relaxing. And so for me, just being there, walking around, and I started to develop a routine because I was there for a couple of weeks. I'd go to the cafe here, check out this new cafe, try out whatever the hell that food is, and things like that, and then sketch and think and write. And I ended up writing a lot of potential YouTube videos kind of stuff, and I could have them all saved. So that was really cool. I just have to dive into it and do them. But yeah, I mean, I have you traveled outside the country at all?
Just a little bit. Like my wife's family's in the Caribbean. And so we went there last summer. That was amazing. And then when I was really little too, so I don't remember much of it. Yeah.
Well, I definitely would encourage anyone to get out there. I still haven't seen Europe yet, so that's next on the list.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. So so from my perspective, looking in at your lifestyle, it seems like and I know you probably hear this and it's probably annoying, but it seems like you've kind of figured it out because you're doing your own thing, like from the start, like not from the start, but early on, you're doing your own thing.
Yeah.
And you're able to travel, you're working on your own projects. It's feeding you. You get to do a lot of that introspective stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you feel? Where do you feel like you're at now in your art journey and in your life? Do you feel like you've answered some of these questions?
I definitely, having left and gone on my own and into, let's say, metaphorical territory that hasn't been explored from my perspective. And so in terms of, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? How do I make money? What am I willing to do for like an extended period of time, whether it's Patreon, lessons, or whatever. I'd say that now I can see things with a lot more clarity of what I definitely don't want to do, and it's like clearing away the fog. Because when the fog is there, I found myself doing things I didn't want to, working on projects, saying yes to things that weren't, I guess, it didn't allow me to be creatively expressive. And so that kind of killed that part of me on the inside. So I'm at a place now where I've, let's say, gotten rid of enough of the driftwood that has held me back to, let's say, angle my field of view towards, okay, this makes sense. This is what I want to do. I feel a lot of creative flow when I'm doing this, but not that. I definitely feel that, and it's basically that becomes the guiding light in that fog. Yeah. And so I don't think I'm on the other side, outside of the whole swamp. I think I'm maybe like, and there is no outside of the swamp, because you leave this swamp and it's like a bit of clarity. Oh, what's this next swamp? Oh, right. And so it's going to be a cyclic thing. But after every journey into this, like, I don't know, therefore I'm going forward anyway, you become equipped with something. And so for me, artistically, I would say now I'm equipped with reconnecting with the part of me that enjoys art, because for the longest time, up until maybe the last few months, I was held back a lot because my art or anything that I did was for the wrong reasons. Reasons being, I did art in order to be accepted by people. It wasn't just money. I didn't really, sure, like getting jobs, whatever. But like, for example, on Instagram, it was like, what is the currency that I need to put forward for you to accept me? Yeah. And that defined the equation of me doing art. And I had to look at that and find out why, which obviously now, but in retrospect, I didn't know. It's linked to, you know, childhood and like how I socialized or made friends, or how my relationship with my parents and things like that. And I've sort of been looking a lot into psychology and stuff. I haven't gone into therapy yet. I do plan to find a therapist soon, because I can only self-diagnose so much, but I just need like an expert's opinion and like help me break down the walls of inability to trust people, because that inability to trust people with my vulnerable self prevents me from doing my purest art, because that's exactly what that is. It's putting it out there. So I guess that's kind of where I am. It's a bit of a purgatory.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So what are some of the things you've cut away that, and what are some of the things you've cut away, and what are some of the things, what's that small area that you're focusing on now?
With clarity. Yeah. I guess the things I've cut away are the parts of me that were frantically anxious. So if I was to do a drawing, there's a part of me in my mind, and it's like, you know, a rational, well, seemingly rational. For example, if I was to walk forward towards a cliff and there's a bunch of spikes at the bottom, it's like that voice would say, no, don't jump. There's, okay, there's spikes down there. It's a long, stay away from the cliff, right? So that same voice, let's say a landmine detector kind of personality. And I imagine that voice looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. That voice activated whenever I would draw. So like, I would make a shape. No, the shape's not good enough. No, they're not going to like it. Find a better shape. You need something that looks good. Find a theme that people will, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's not the right color. Oh, the composition is not good enough. And I would like start sweating. And so not that that's what they weren't actual words, but those were the feelings. So the way I was able to address it and look at it and get rid of that, and it doesn't come up anymore, maybe a little bit, was as I was doing a drawing, I'm like, okay, this session, I'm going to give it a voice and vocalize it. So I was drawing, and I'll be doing like a sketch, and like, oh, no, the composition isn't good enough. And I would respond to it. I was like, all right, cool, calm down, right? So it was a bit of a crazy conversation, but having let myself do a session of that sort of just, what's it called? It took away its, it diffused it. That's what it did. And so I guess being aware of it and then acting it out. Like if anyone heard or saw me doing that, they would have thought I was crazy, because I definitely was, because I went full Gollum mode, like just like, no, it's not a good drawing. What are you doing? Stop it. And like, you know, it was a bit of
and so this is that relates to the whole kind of social media side of being an artist.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It seems like it's so common now with artists starting out, is the immediate feedback and approval of the art. Like when I grew up, I would go into my bedroom and draw, and no one ever saw it. Yeah. And so it was always this kind of like, I just need to learn. I just need to learn so I could get professionals, so that I could finally show this to the professionals. Yeah. And now it's, man, I could see how that's stressful. And I think that's why I have so much resistance to things like Instagram and stuff, because I know I need to do a certain kind of art to please that crowd. Exactly. And to fit that algorithm, but I don't want to do it. You know, I don't want to do that kind of art.
You have to, yeah.
And so
so more on that. I think it depends on the game you want to play, and the willingness to accept the reality of that game. And B, social media, it has obviously a lot of perks, you know, but has an extremely detrimental impact on people, especially artists, especially young artists, because when you're starting out, like you said, when you're learning and you're just in your room drawing and no one's seeing it, you're kind of taking a look at it. Maybe your friends and family will say, "Oh, that's really cool," or "I don't really feel this one." Whatever. With social media, it's the worth of your drawing is defined by the number, and now there's like a number attached to it.
Yeah.
How many likes, how many followers, blah blah blah. And if it's, let's say you could take a John Singer Sargent painting, which I think is a masterpiece, put it online, it's gonna maybe get a couple likes, but something that's like a fan art anime, blah blah, which is cool, fair enough. If you enjoy that, that's gonna get like a profoundly bigger number. And so you might look at the data and say, well, okay, well, this thing that I thought was a masterpiece clearly isn't, because that has more likes. And so our perception is skewed heavily because of the currency system. And like I said earlier, it was like I was trying to find what is the thing that I can offer to get that currency, because I was defining my art and myself based on the currency of likes and stuff. And so I think stepping away from that for a long time and deleting my whole gallery at one point, I was able to kind of separate a little bit. I still feel it like to an extent, but at least I'm aware of it. And now when I do art, it's like whenever I get that urge of, oh, well, I know that one drawing I did a while back and the other artist did this one thing with this one effect, maybe I should do that. Every time that urge comes up, I address it and say, no. Like, what is the natural thing I want to do? And there's a video that Proco did on his channel. He was interviewing one of his older teachers about automatic drawing. Did you by any chance see that?
No, I haven't.
It's this guy who worked with Mobius or taught some kind of relation. And so he would watch Mobius work, and what Mobius would do is something called automatic drawing, or so they called it. And you just clear your mind and you let your pencil go wherever, let it be a mess. And then from that, something can emerge. But it's the willingness to say, oh, it doesn't have to be anything. Just whatever. I'm not trying to make it anything. There's no pressure. I'm just letting it automatically happen. And when I saw that, I like, it clicked for me. It's like, I tried it a couple of times. At first, I was like, I started like, okay, wait, I have to make it look good. Oh, wait, okay, I get it. All right, no, I don't have to make it look good. And so after a couple of pages, I started to understand and reconnect with that like childhood wonder that we tend to lose at like in our adult years. And so it was like approaching it with genuine curiosity without trying to force it to become something as a part of the economy of likes, right?
Yeah.
So that was really, really good. And now I find that I let myself scribble more. And I was like, oh, that I can use a scribble as a part of my portrait or background. And it's like, I don't care. Whereas before it was like, it's a scribble, but it's too much of me. I have to cover it up and make it match the Instagram algorithm of non-existent ghost jury. Yeah.
So wait, a couple of things. So you said you deleted your gallery. Is that your Instagram gallery? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, a while back, I was going through a lot of anxiety, and I just felt like it was tied to all the art that I posted that I felt forced. And so I deleted everything. Like I went one by one to each thing. I was like, did I do this for myself or for likes? And if it was for likes, I deleted it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't me. It was like, what is the thing that the machine wants? And so
yeah. How cool.
I can't say I fully cleared away from that, but I'm in the direction of steering away from it.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels like less pressure and less anxiety. And
yeah. And the other thing is, how old are you?
I'm 30. I'm going to be 31 in March.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Because I just talked to, and not to put you in the same boat, but I just talked to a high school student who's early high, so like a sophomore in high school.
9-year-old Army confirmed. Yeah.
And I was like, what are the struggles that you guys go through? And he's not even an artist. He was like into sports. He's into baseball. Yeah. And he's like, I go, what are the struggles like with is it social media, and how does that play into high school now? You know, everyone has phones and stuff. And he's like, yeah, the social media is really rough because it's not about how many followers you have. It's about how much people respond to each post. He's like, if you post something and no one cares, it destroys people. Yeah. And it really sounds like the exact same thing, you know, like getting that social recognition. And but it was just fascinating to me talking with him about it. It's just like about what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Do my shoes look neat?
It's definitely a new phenomena because there have been recent studies and interviews with psychologists and whatever researchers about social media and how because it's so new, we don't know the long-term effects of it. And it's so new and uncontrolled that, not that it should be controlled or whatever, that there's an increase in depression and suicide ever since the increase of social media became prevalent with younger kids. And it's like, even just being ignored by who you thought was your friend could make you feel absolutely worthless. And it's like, you see them the next day, it's like you feel it messes with you. Right? But all it is a screen and just pixels, and all the people on the other side are just other people who are just like you. But when you see it on a screen, it becomes this let's say collective, and that collective is a judge, and you feel like it's evaluating you. And if you don't get the likes or whatever for your new shoes or for your new drawing, you're like, oh, well, obviously I'm worthless, right? So I think it's something crazy. We're learning and course correcting as we go.
Yeah. How interesting. Yeah. I don't even know what to. Yeah. Okay. So,
fun topic.
I'm really skeptical of, like, I pulled the plug on Facebook, and I really want to pull the plug on Twitter, but I want to do a little experimenting with it. I don't see it as being beneficial anymore to me. And so I want to do an experiment for about a month before I decide to pull the plug on that.
I still don't use Twitter. It's a mystery to me.
It seems like it's gotten really bad lately for just, overreactions. And
stuff.
I don't. I don't go there to get anything anymore. So
Right. I like Instagram. I think after I cleared away the stuff I talked about earlier, all that's left now is like, okay, well, what's enjoyable for me? And the challenges are like actually fun, because it's not about the likes. It's not about who's better than who or whatever. It's about, let's all do this thing and feel like we're moving towards something. Because even if you're the worst and you're just starting out, you're going to be better after 100 drawings, no matter what.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool to see. And that makes me feel like it's accomplished something, and it's worth it to keep going there. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, and these challenges, they're all things that you came up with that you were putting on your students, right? Or challenging them with.
It's like, it's also things like that I suck at. It's like, well, I'm really bad at drawing this, and so let's do 100 of that. One of them is 100 environments challenge, which I didn't put together yet, because I'm not very good at landscapes, or I could do them, but I'm not confident with it. So it's been fun. And on my Discord for my Patreon, like I talk to a lot of people there, and so I sort of gauge what they need. And so when somebody, and that's the reason I did the hands challenge, is because I'm stuttering now. Somebody was expressing how they just can't draw hands, and I can't even draw one or two. I'm like, okay, do 500. They're like, huh? And then it evolved into that challenge. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, what are some of the things that you're focusing in on? I mean, it sounds like you probably already clarified that. It's just like you're cutting out the things that are for the algorithm, and you're focusing on the things that are not. Is your, let's say, the next 1 or 2 or 5 years, is it the focus mainly still teaching and growing as an artist? Or do you have any like projects that you want to put together, any stories you want to tell,
right?
Animations you want to make? Is there, where are you going?
Okay. So teaching, I don't know if I'll keep doing that forever. But we'll say yes to teaching, because I mean, it's just so fulfilling for me to see people grow, and to like take credit for it on the inside, like, well, that's me. But projects wise, yes, I do have a couple things in mind. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on an art book, and I've been talking to a publisher for the past few years, and he just kickstarted one with an artist recently, and it worked out. And I told him, hey, look, I think I'm ready now. Let's do this. Like, okay, cool. I've been waiting. So we're doing that. But even that presented its own problems that I had to clear out for myself on the inside. And it was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do an art book, it has to be concept art. It has to be turnarounds of a character. It has to, and I started coming up with criteria of what it had to be. Yeah. Even that was also back to the currency thing. It's like, no. Yeah. What is it that I actually do if I wasn't doing that? And so now I'm discovering that I can push these things away and find what I'm enjoying here in my sketchbook or in Photoshop. That's the art book, not something that I have to contrive as whatever. Yeah. And when it comes to stories, I do have like plenty of stories and projects in mind, whether it's my take on a sort of, I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah, don't give it away, then you'll lose that fire.
Right. Let's say Arabian kind of stuff, because like there's not many good stuff about that. And having grown up here and having Arabic influence, there's some stuff with that. And then some like little, fun little RPG ideas. But I do have like, whenever I see like one of those trailers for like League of Legends, I don't play the game, but they're really epic and there's like cool characters. They just look cool. I have no idea who they are, but even though I don't know the story, with the animation, with the music, with the ups and downs and the climax, it inspires me to like, oh, maybe I could do like a storyboard and just like play that in a cinematic, maybe make my own music. You play guitar, so I play guitar too. It's like you can come up with stuff. And so as a creative person, you have a lot of things at your disposal. So I am interested in like animatics and collaborating with other artists who want to jump on, things like that.
That's cool. It's just interesting to me because there's like this wave of, I mean, it's a small wave, but it's a wave of artists that are kind of that are being known, that can kind of do their own thing. Like I say, from an earlier age, they haven't had to go through the grind for 30 years before they can kind of say, I finally want to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I always scratch my head at what motivates, like what would motivate me if I would, like at really early on, didn't have to continue grinding away at the job. And, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm always fascinated with, people like you who seem to kind of get a footing in that scenario. And I'm always curious, like, what are the projects you're going to make? Not just learning. And I know there's a lot of us that are like, it seems like the infinite learning stage. And I'm curious when the product is going to, like, what the product will be, I guess.
I'm curious too. That's the very nature of an artist. It's like, you don't know, but you let it emerge in front of you. I think in terms of motivation, like, because the reason I started all this with YouTube and Instagram and all that, I remember I've worked at several studios doing various things like theme park design. Mm-hmm. I've done VFX studios, and these are all in LA. And then I went up to Seattle, worked on video games. And I think that's when I started the whole journey. That's when I read that book, The One Thing, and the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. This concept's about entrepreneurship. So I found that wherever I worked, if it was on someone else's project and someone else's idea while putting my passions on hold, that felt like the worst thing ever. Yeah. That feeling motivated me to want to build something and build an environment where I could pursue the thing that I enjoyed and not put it on hold. So I guess I've built it up. Now I just have to do the damn thing.
I guess this is kind of the conversation we had a little bit last time too, right? Yeah. Because you seem to be good at building the core group and the,
I think, I mean, I don't know if I could say this, but it's also the willingness to turn down opportunities. Like, I I just had to turn down Marvel Studios for a gig.
Oh yeah.
Which is a huge opportunity. And I'm like, do I put all this stuff that I've been wanting to do on hold and go work on this really cool project?
Yeah.
Or do I stay? And so I chose to stay.
Yeah. Well, I think you made the right move. Like as great as Into the Spider-Verse was, I don't want to work on it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like it's not my thing. And I love it. And I love how they did it, you know? And if I was in that place in my life where I was just looking for work, I would have loved to work on it.
Oh yeah.
But, you know, but yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not yours, you know?
Yeah. And it's like babysitting someone else's kid, you know?
Yeah. You only have so many hours here. You only have so many years, you know? I'm
making probably less because of it, but I mean...
Yeah. I'm making way less, yeah.
Right. It's like we both left the LA industry, and but it's fulfilling in different ways.
You know, yeah.
And there's still... go ahead.
There's still like problems, you know, you still have stresses and ups and downs, but it's like, it's not my boss's stresses. It's not my boss's problems. It's my problems, you know, so I can handle my things. And, and if I learn through them and, you know, figure out these things, I feel like I've actually grown, you know?
Yeah.
So it's good. Interesting. Well, I'm curious. I'm curious about this art book. Is it going to be all new stuff that no one's seen online?
I want it to be.
Yeah. That's exciting.
I feel like I'll probably still put, you know, some old stuff that I enjoy, even some examples of things I did, because I want to write too. I don't want it to just be like, hey, here's just a pamphlet of my art, but rather I want it to be like an experience.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Ian McKegg's book Shadowline, I think that's a good example of sort of the experience I'm thinking about, having some kind of narrative representing the artist's journey, and just showing the process. Yeah,
that's cool. That's
taking
cool.
Sketches, paintings, ideas. But I guess one rule that I'm not rule, but like this, a filter is this something I'm doing for myself? If so, it goes in the book. Is this something I'm doing to get 10 more likes on the next post? That doesn't go in the book.
Yeah. How interesting. That's a interesting way to approach it. I mean, I can see that being something that I would gravitate towards too. I think I more naturally do that, and I get frustrated that I'm not doing the things that serve the algorithm.
You know, it comes with, you have to make a choice at a certain point. There's a fork in the road. I pursue what I like, but like if you do that, you're willingly forfeiting or foregoing that like massive,
exactly,
like attention, money, and like I think both of us, if we chose the other route, we could probably pull it off. You know, the fan art, the girls and the poses, the sparkly lights behind them. Like we could probably do it, but is it fulfilling? And no. And so you have to be willing to cringe a bit and say, okay, fine, I'm choosing to give that up, because otherwise I'd be suffocating on the inside. And but it also comes with realizing that you have to stop evaluating your art's worth and your self-worth based on those numbers.
Yeah. I found myself in a weird spot towards the end of 2018, where I had finished Sithra, and that Sithra was the big project that I moved out of LA to come here and do. And so it's done, you know. And then I kind of dabbled in teaching and dabbled in I was trying to finish cognitive drawing, did a couple short comics, and then I started working on an old high school project that I did in high school called Phobos again, relaunching it. And, you know, the bills were being paid and everything is going fine, but it was this weird moment where I was like, suddenly I was having trouble deciding what I should focus on. Because nothing was necessarily popping up in the foreground saying this is what's going to pay the bills. And so I don't like to do anything to pay for the money and for the bills. I want to do it because I feel like I should do it, or because it's this message I want to say, or because of whatever.
Classic artist.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's why I went out of LA and came here, and so, but it was this weird moment where, and I think I'm just kind of getting out of it. I don't know, but I'd wake up and be like, I don't know if what I should be doing. And it was this weird moment for me because I'm in a studio that I can afford. I mean, the bills are tight. I don't make a lot of money, but I can pay for it. And I can do whatever I want. And so why can't I figure out what I want to do now?
Right.
And it was the first time I really started wrestling with that, because I always had so many ideas. I'm like, as soon as I have a free second, I work on this thing, and I'm just like eagerly working on it. And now I'm like, I don't know which one of the 5 projects I should work on. I just don't know.
Sometimes you might just have to flip a coin. I don't know. Yeah,
it was really weird. So I ended up settling on Phobos, and because it was the most natural one for me. And I'm really pleased with how it's turning out. But then I got offered this job, and it came at this weird time when I was actually thinking it'd be nice to I don't want to go back to LA, but it'd be nice to work on someone else's thing. And I know we just had this conversation about not working on other people's things, but when they approached me and they're like, would you want to draw this thing? I was like, actually, no, I wouldn't. And they're like, would you want to write it and draw it? And I was like, actually, I would.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So it's kind of it's the perfect project that came at the right time. It's been this really good learning experience. And it's been interesting because I started writing a lot of weird stuff now. So I'm not only writing that, but yesterday actually, I came up with this idea, popped into my mind, and I started writing it last night and writing it half the day today. And it's just completely out of the blue. It's actually a horror.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And I'm like, why am I writing horror? I don't know why, but there's reasons for it. And I don't know if I'll ever release it. I have no idea, but it's been this really strange, fun, experimental phase for me. And I don't know where I'm going with it, but it's a different place to be. I don't think you ever, we all know you never arrive, everyone always appears like they have it together, but
you mentioned how, you kind of wake up and you have those 5 choices or an unknown, undefined path or direction. And as an artist, you come across those so much, especially if you are on your own, like what we're doing. And there's this kind of weird, kind of like part of you that says, just tell me what it's supposed to be, right? Yeah. Somebody, like the thing, like what kind of spirit or muse or God or whatever, what is the thing? Like, tell it to me so I can just do it. But at the same time, if there was someone telling you to do a thing, then you don't want to do it, because it's like, well, so it's a catch-22. Because it's like, wait, yeah, man. Being an artist is a weird thing. We're weird people.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes you just have to pick a direction and do a leap of faith. Just like in that movie.
Yeah. I really think you're right. And I mean, that's why I was like, I'm doing Phobos. Just gonna do Phobos. Yeah. And now with this current project, I'm like, I'm gonna try to get this done in 6 months. And I really want to get cognitive drawing done after that, And so it's time. It's good to take. I think it's good to take breaks from what you're doing consistently as well. So, like when I was working on Remind for years and years, I finished it. I took like a year off of personal projects.
Makes sense.
And it was because it was about 7 years working on it in my free time.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And so once I got that done, I was like, I need to make my free time be about something else.
Yes.
And it was I took a whole year, and it's like, as soon as that year was up, because I made up my mind, I'm going to take a year off. And as soon as that year up was done, it was like major inspiration, just full blast. And I just
That's awesome.
Launched into Cithra, and it was like, it was all refreshing. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, it is tempting. Like when I had a talk with the art director or the production designer for the thing for Marvel. I played with the idea, like it would have been kind of nice to take a break from this whole hustle and just follow some kind of schedule and do things and contribute to a creative project. So maybe down the line I will do something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to define it on your terms, though, like just jumping straight back into a production is not really your terms.
Well, the bridge is still open for remote contract work with the same thing, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I know it'd be amazing if you did it. So, but I think it's commendable what you're doing too. I have to
at least try this thing first. And if it really doesn't work out, then I'll do the thing.
Yeah. And so you're not really focusing on YouTube much, you're saying too?
I'm starting to get back into it. I think clearing away a lot of the anxiety.
Was that about the clicks too and the thumbs up on YouTube?
I think with Instagram it was the numbers and stuff, but with YouTube is a little bit different. Like there was just overwhelming internal, let's say, criteria that I had to think about and prepare for, and like the thumbnail and what are people going to say about this and what. So it was more like imagine I'm backstage and like going out front to do or say something is YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. And there's always that audience there, and now the audience is even bigger than it was before. So it was like it's really daunting, and then that increases the criteria list and pressure from my perspective being backstage. It's like, well, okay, well now I got to figure out, and the list becomes so big that I get into analysis paralysis and don't do anything at all.
Yeah.
And people are like, hey, any videos soon? And I'm just like, yeah, for sure. But okay, I'll make one now. Okay, I have to think about this. And then maybe later. And so, but getting over that, realizing it just doesn't matter. Just getting on cam or just talking or whatever. It's like, I had to remember what it was like to be 14 or 15. And if only there was someone out there telling me the things I needed to hear. So that kind of puts a different frame around it that is bringing me back to YouTube a little bit more.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've been experimenting with YouTube and just kind of throwing up things. Yeah, just throwing up things that I'm like, this is not my audience. This is not my channel. But for me, it was like, I don't want to. I guess it was similar to what you're saying, but I didn't want to get trapped doing stuff.
Exactly.
In a one way that I just
pigeonholed.
Didn't want that to be the whole thing. Yeah, pigeonholed. And I mean, I did start a YouTube just kind of doing whatever, no one's telling me what to do and paying me for it. So I don't need to turn it into a controlling boss.
Right. And, it becomes a chore. It became a chore for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of like, the more things I can just throw out there now, and even if my audience leaves, or even if a group of people leave, it means they're not really the fans anyway.
Exactly.
Like I might as well weed them out now.
Yeah. It's taking me a long time to get to that kind of conclusion, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing it right at all.
There is no right.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Like there's no right way. It's like there's certainly wrong ways. Like you don't want to like do like Logan Paul stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But like there's no right answer. It's just you go out on stage and you just do things and like you don't want to be the thing where they put the coin and then you just dance like a monkey, right? Like
yeah. Well, good.
Yeah, man.
Well, how long have we been going? Has it been about an hour? I think it has. Well, I don't want to keep you forever. I don't know if there's any other subjects that are on your mind.
That was a good session. We covered a lot of topics. We should definitely do this more often.
It'd be fun to every 6 months or even 3 months, 2 months, every week. No.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's cool. I just appreciate you being willing to talk with me because I mean, in stages, because I'm fascinated with you and your life, and it's just fun to be able to have some one-on-one time without trying to decode it from your videos and what you're posting. And when your library disappears, I'm like, what's going on? You know, so it's just, I like to get in there like that with people. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the time.
I appreciate you reaching out, man. It's an honor. Love your work. It's lovely style, and it seems to be developing too. So that's really cool. Like it's growing. Yeah. It's like kind of cool
it is growing. My brain is like really tripping out right now because I'm writing this really awful horror story that I never thought I would write. And I was reading it to my wife today, and I was like, I never thought I would write something this horrible.
Oh, geez.
She's like, why are you writing things horrible? I'm like, well, there's a reason. And she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you should write that.
Diving into your
and so I'm like, this is weird. This is weird territory, and it's the type of thing where it's like I would almost want a fake name.
I see.
And I always argue against people having fake names. I'm like, dude, just embrace it, take it. You know, it's you. Like, you want to grow your audience, use your name. But I'm like, this time, I'm like,
Have you seen Sunstone?
Sunstone? No, I haven't.
Or Sajik what's his name? The guy, he did Ravine, I believe it's called, a comic book artist, and he was really, really good. And he decided, well, actually, out of nowhere, another artist who looked just like his work and style emerged, but doing like naughty things. Like it was like a naughty comic, but with a really good story. It wasn't just like, stuff. And eventually, he's like, actually, that's me, but I did it under the pseudonym for these reasons. Now I realize it's all okay, and like it was really freeing.
How interesting, yeah.
How
interesting.
I believe he goes by Nebeziel or something like that on DeviantArt. But
Sunstone was his.
Yeah. That's the collection of the BDSM comic, but it's
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
18 and over, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a subject that's fascinating for me, and it's part of the whole YouTube experience of like, I just need to not be afraid to be who I am, you know, and so I guess it relates completely to this other thing I'm writing.
There was a Neil Gaiman, however you say it, a graduation speech where he talks about the journey of the creative person, and there was a line that really struck a chord, and it was the moment you start to feel like you're showing a little bit too much of yourself, the moment you start to feel a little bit too much naked, then you know you're on the right track. Because like that you should be just yourself, right? Obviously you shouldn't be doing horrible things and like flashing people in the streets. That's not what it means. But like the willingness to just put your true self forth, it takes a lot of courage, but that's like what that guy did and with his comic, and he's just, and people loved it, and he's like, really, I did, so
how interesting.
Yeah,
a lot to learn, a lot to grow with,
I feel like I'm just starting out.
Me too. It's interesting.
I'll always feel
Been
that
doing
way.
it for 25 years, and I'm just starting out, just trying to finally develop what I want to do.
The damn carrot on the stick is just always in front of us.
Yep. Yeah. Well, very good. Well, I'm going to wrap this up, I guess, as long as you want to wrap it up. And I appreciate it, though, again.
Definitely, if you're watching this on my channel, check out Jason Brubaker. The link will be in the description. Really great content, especially if you want to learn about comics, the journey to do so. And
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, I worked at DreamWorks in Hollywood for like 20 years, and left it. And I'm not sad about it at all. No, it was such a great learning experience, but I'm so over it.
I get it. Same.
And if you guys are on my channel and you've never heard about Ahmed before, check out his channel. He has amazing tutorials and art demos and how to draw this and that and painting styles. And he has a great Patreon account where he teaches and has like lessons and like worksheets type things. Is that right?
Yeah.
And really inspiring artwork, in my opinion. So
and if you come to my YouTube channel, I upload once a year, so it's great.
So you'll be able to get caught up really easy.
Oh my
You have a lot of old stuff on there, though. unless you've taken it down.
No, I've never looked at a YouTube video. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Anyway,
All right,
well,
man.
thanks for this chat.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
We'll see you.